Then sometimes when I would see them in the next week or two, they're automatically, with the smartphone slump, the head is going forward, and they're complaining about, they had lower back pain. So when the myofascial release, it helps to release the fascia that's surrounding your muscles, that's keeping you, tight and tense. So your muscle can expand and we can get blood flow in there. And that's where the tissues can be remodeled and nourished and rebuilt. I always say to my clients, the issues are in our tissues. Those emotions, we wear them like weights in our shoulders, like little knots and balls in there. So they definitely affect, your overall body. Like I said, if you're dealing with depression, you're going to be slumped forward. You're not going to be, running around with a smile on your face. Your posture is going to show how you feel. So I always say, when we're dealing with, maybe an emotional issue, nothing's better than doing breathing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wellness for Life. I'm your host, Niki Wolf, and today we have another expert in the building, Michael Jones. He is an ergonomist, author, and founder of Pain Free Me Studio in Bangkok, Thailand. He specializes in helping desk workers and athletes alleviate neck, back, shoulder, and hip pain through his innovative stand-up method. He's also the author of Stand Up, Upgrade Your Posture, and Transform Your Life. His approach combines postural analysis, myofascial release, and corrective exercises to help people live pain-free lives. Michael, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Absolutely. I think this conversation is more pressing than ever, especially since the pandemic. I don't know the percentage of individuals now working from home. I know my career took a major pivot. And so many of us are now sitting at desks and maybe don't even have that positive influence to get up and see a colleague or go to the water station. We're kind of starting to get a little bit more hunched over. So I can see how this conversation is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have so many people out there who they're suffering, they're working either, 100% remote or they're hybrid, which means, they might go into the office where they might have, a nice ergonomic chair, and then they're going home to sit at the dining room table. So we have a lot of people who are, developing, text neck, that forward head posture, they're having a disengaged core, and I always say tight, sticky hips from sitting from long periods of time. So now, so more than ever, it's time for us to really just stand up and really start to, do a little bit more wellness when it comes to, where we work.
You made a good point. So you mentioned kind of some of the key struggles that we face if we are working from home and, in these positions often. But one thing that for some reason didn't hit me. So I have a stand-up. I was so tempted to stand up doing our recording today, but I have a stand-up desk and I have a treadmill underneath. So when I'm not recording, I'm generally standing up and I'm walking at a slow pace. I also will like to, take a break and go walk the dogs throughout the day. I sit outside in the sunshine. I try to do my best because I know I am sitting for a long period of time. But one thing, and so I feel like, my back and my neck are okay, but my hips are so tight because you're still sitting, and if you're not doing, postures and exercises to balance that out or stretch that out, you're going to notice some issues. So I'm excited to kind of get into today of what we can apply in our lives to make these adjustments. But before we even get into the topic itself, I'd love to hear a little bit more about yourself and, tell our listeners how you got started in this field. What inspired you to focus on ergonomics and pain relief?
Well, I've been running a posture-based, I would say posture-based model in my business for almost 20 years now. And I say within the last 10 years, I started to see a postural decline. I would have, my clients would come in to see me, we get them, nice and posture fit, shoulders back, cores engaged, they're walking out pain-free. Then sometimes when I would see them in the next week or two, they're automatically, with the smartphone slump, the head is going forward, and they're complaining about, they had lower back pain. And my question was what happened in between this time of, when you saw me, you left your office, everything was fine until you're coming to see me now. And the same thing kept coming up. They said, oh, I just went to work. So, the red light went off, and I said, okay, I want you to take a picture of how you're sitting at your desk. Just send it on your smartphone, just take a picture of me. And then that's when I saw everyone like this.
Mm-hmm.
We're just slumped over all day, and it is truly, killing our posture and also our health. There's been so many studies, about the posture health connection and, how it relates to, say, digestion, pain, depression, anxiety. So, we need more so than ever to kind of, stand up and really just, like I said, upgrade the way that we are functioning, in life and also, in business.
Yeah. I'm surprised to hear that you've been in this for over 20 years. So this was not like a pandemic kind of thing where everybody's migrating over. What was there, like an injury or something within the family that got you? Because this is a very niche, topic.
Yes. Yeah. So what got me started is I actually was working in corporate, and I hurt my back, and I kept going to the doctor. They kept giving me more pain meds and muscle relaxers, and told me I need to go see a psychiatrist because nothing's wrong with me. I mean, I went through everything, and just so happened I on a lunch break. I went to Whole Foods. And I always say this magic lady in the natural health aisle is the one who kind of opened my world to wellness and to taking care of myself and to posture, nutrition. And from there, so like I said, my world just changed. And I started going seeing, an acupuncturist, a chiropractor, a physical therapist, massage therapist. And these healthcare providers are the ones who truly changed my life and helped me to find out what posture really was and to get me out of pain. And, I started feeling so good, and I just thought, wow, what a great field to be in. Like, you just help people all day. And I just started doing more research, and I just became so disconnected from my job. And I just wanted to do more of just helping. So I went back to school, further my education, massage therapy, physical therapy and rehab. And that's where, which landed me here today. Like I said, it's been almost 20 years now that I've been really helping people, helping thousands of people around the world to be pain free.
That is so cool. I love stories like that. I started in the industry in the whole body department at Whole Foods as well. Wow. Very, very close to San Diego too.
There we go.
Like, how funny if we ever, but it just showcases too the power of the impact that we can make on individual lives, no matter where we are, not just in the world, but in our jobs. And just, this gal made a positive influence, and now look at the amount of lives that you're changing. So that is so cool to hear. So today we're going to spend time, talking about posture and ergonomics. For those of us that might not be familiar with that terminology, can you explain what ergonomics is?
Ergonomics is the study of people at work. So I would say an ergonomist is responsible for reducing your musculoskeletal aches and pains while you're sitting at your desk. They're the ones who happen to come in and tell you, educate you on how to, design your workspace, how to have the things that you need the most are going to be closer to you, where you need to have your eye level with your monitor, how you need to sit, what kind of chair you need. I always say these are your workplace angels. There's the ones that, again, is going to help to reduce any kind of, workman's comp claims, and also help to in employee engagement as well. So, ergonomists are very, very important, and it's definitely a career not too many people know about. But, somehow we are, buying more ergonomic, devices and, things, that we can use, but we might not necessarily know what an ergonomist does.
Absolutely. I love that explanation. And it makes me think, maybe you're already doing this. I can see a role for ergonomics being going to corporate jobs and having seminars and education, because luckily I work in the health industry. My job within this industry is kind of the health leader. And so this is stuff that's always top of mind. But I think about our IT team. I think about, all these teams that they're probably hunched over and they don't think about that kind of stuff. They might be sipping Mountain Dew and all this kind of stuff. And so I can see a very important role in that. Now, you've laid out this methodology that you call the stand-up method. What does this look like, and how does this approach help individuals reduce, pain, especially for those who are desk workers?
Well, the stand-up method is my proprietary three-step method, and that consists of a postural assessment, and that's what we can do. I do it in person, virtually. 4 different posture images from the front, 2 from the side, 1 from the back. And this helps me to get down to the root cause of your problems, to find out those postural distortion patterns that you have. And this is what's keeping you in pain and limited mobility. And then from there, we go into doing myofascial release. Okay. And we might, not too many people know what fascia is, but fascia is the connective tissue that actually surrounds your muscle. I mean, we're covered in fascia, because it's like the net that keeps us together. So when the myofascial release, it helps to release the fascia that's surrounding your muscles, that's keeping you, tight and tense. So your muscle can expand and we can get blood flow in there. And that's where the tissues can be remodeled and, and nourished and rebuilt. And then I always add some corrective exercises, which is the third step, to help stabilize the structure, to help you to be posture fit and keep you out of pain.
Fantastic. I think those are all very important. And the fact that you can do this virtually. I mean, I think those listening are probably like, okay, how do I get in on this? One thing too, you mentioned the myofascial. I've done a handful of massages or received them. Correct me if I'm wrong, those are the ones that are like very intense, almost painful, but it's doing its work. Is that correct? Where you're getting deep in there?
Yeah, it kind of depends, per the therapist,
True.
When we do self myofascial release, that's where I have my clients, the ones I work with remotely. We use massage balls. We use a towel. We use a foam roller. So these are things like you might have some areas that are very sensitive, because the fascia is really restricted in that area. But like say when you're, getting a massage or something, it's going to be like more of kind of like a deep tissue massage where you're really getting in there deep. But with myofascial release, you necessarily don't have to get in too deep into the tissues. The fascia is right on the top of the muscles too. So it's like right underneath the skin. So like I said, we're just, we're like bones, tendons, ligaments just floating in this extracellular tissue called fascia.
Awesome. And I guess it depends on the individual too, of like if they're coming in with injury or soreness or anything like that.
Right. Like I said, I have a lot of clients that come in, with, some major issues going on. So they can be hypersensitive to the touch. Or I have others, who are just coming in for, the maintenance where, you can get a little bit deeper in the work, so it kind of depends per the person.
Yeah. Now you mentioned, what did you call it? Smartphone slump, something like that?
Smartphone slump. Yes.
Okay. I got it. So I can
the head is out.
Totally. I can see this being a very common postural distortion that you're seeing. Are there other ones that are fairly common? And what are some, immediate, and I know today we'll probably get into some other like fixes that we can implement starting now, but what are some of, the immediate fixes that we can do if that is kind of how we're going about our days?
Right. So, the postural distortion patterns that I see the most, like I said, the smartphone slump, text neck, that forward head posture that we all have. And I said, and also a disengaged core, we have a compressed core. It's not tight. We're almost giving ourselves, like I said, we're giving ourselves like a beer belly because, we're just kind of slumped over it. And what happens when you slump? The belly comes out. Okay. Yeah. And we know a lot of great things go on here in the core. So we got to keep that tight. So, I always say, to keep, you out of this kind of, slumped kind of posture, it's always good to take posture breaks throughout the day. And with posture breaks is just, 1 to 3 minutes of you just pushing back away from the computer, doing some stretching, deep breathing, standing up, walking around, anything to get the body moving, because our bodies are made to be athletic, to be in constant motion. I don't think, when we became, upright and from a quadruped position to becoming upright, we didn't know computers and smartphones were coming down the line. So, so we have to kind of remember that, our bodies are meant to be in motion. So we have to take that time during our posture breaks to just stand up, stretch, hands above the head, so it can blood flow go down towards the heart. Just those things to just keep you just, like I said, a little bit more engaged throughout your day.
Yeah. Are there any stretches that maybe somebody, if they can stand or if they can't, just to start the morning off, kind of, I think I've seen ones where you kind of like pull your head back because we're constantly like this.
Exactly.
I can imagine, doing something with your back or pressing it up against the wall. I mean, if you had to pick, a handful of exercises that we could even start the morning with and take a break with, what would that look like?
I always say, when we're sitting for long periods of time, we tend to lose our range of motion. So one thing I always tell people is because, you want to be able to look behind you, to change lanes or someone calls your name. I always say start right there, which is, doing some neck rotations. Because our goal, our chin should be somewhat aligned to our shoulders. So just taking that, giving just a light push, not too hard. It stop where you start feeling that nice stretch here on the side of the neck. Okay. You can feel that all down to the shoulders. Do that on both sides. I like to hold it anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds to get that nice stretch. Another thing I really suggest everyone does is, our eyes, they're a muscle. We need to move them. So I would say kind of start looking all around, making big circles with the eyes, side to side, up and down, blinking, because again, a lot of us are dealing with those tired, dry eyes. We're getting a lot of migraines lately. We're suffering from computer vision syndrome. So it's very important. I tell this to everybody, and I do this all throughout my day. It's just to really move my eyes, look around. Like I said, the eyes are, kind of like the windows, for the brain to function. So, the brain likes all these kind of complex movements throughout the day. So keep those eyes moving, looking at the corner of your eyes, up and down, side to side. And there's so many really cool techniques that you can do, like moving your eyes actually can affect your posture too as well. Because I always say, what do you do when you can't see anything? Come forward and you squint. You're putting yourself in, in that forward flexor kind of position.
Fantastic. It's crazy to think of how tight my neck is when I do that side to side. And I'm young and I'm like, it's only going to get worse if I, don't do these. I've always been pretty bad about doing exercise, whether it's weightlifting or sports, and not stretching. And so I just know it's so important to do that. One thing you mentioned earlier on, which I've heard and I've implemented, but I see so many people do this, is the eye level of your screen. From what I've heard is the middle of your screen should be at eye level. And most people, the screen's way lower. So you're automatically looking down all day long. So I have, 2 monitors, and I have them elevated up off of the table. And I have the stand-up desk where it's kind of, right now just with filming, it's a little bit different, but it's at a higher level. So generally the middle of my screen is eye level. Is that kind of your belief and understanding?
That's correct. It needs to be eye level or just maybe a little bit below. Another thing that's important is to have it, make sure your screen's up arm's width away. That's very important. A lot of people have their screens kind of far back. So you make sure it's at least an arm's width away.
Okay, that's good to know. And, obviously I have some more fancier equipment, but for a very long time, I just stacked books underneath like my laptop. I would have like moving boxes. And so sometimes I would just take breaks and stand up at my kitchen counter and do that because I just knew the importance and how, we're already doing this with our phones all day. So if I can control one of the controllables and make sure my computer, is at this, I can imagine that.
Like I said, you're ahead of the pack when it comes to that. Again, we're just so used to just taking our laptops out anywhere, putting on the table, and then looking down. Our world nowadays, our world is, it's actually designed to bring us down and forward. So we definitely need to kind of be a little bit more mindful and work a little bit harder. Just opening up the chest, rolling those shoulders back. Doing our chin tucks. That's so important. Get to reduce that forward head posture and then, to reduce that, that pesky neck pain from having your head forward all day.
Absolutely. Having this conversation is coming at a good time. It's reminding me, I used to be our director of social wellness, and I would lead a morning stretch 3 times a week. And
Mhm.
I ended up having a baby. And so time came off and we just never jumped back into it. But not only is this beneficial for others, but I'm like, I felt the difference with this. And so maybe I'll get back into that. But you mentioned a few different types of therapies. And so you mentioned the myofascial. You've given us some examples of kind of these stretching and postural examples. But as far as myofascial, what are some techniques that we can implement at home on ourselves?
You know what I like to do when it comes to myofascial release? I always call it like some self massage at your desk. Those little massage balls, we've seen them. You can pick them up anywhere for, nothing. Put them on your desk. Let's say this is the desk. Put the little massage ball there and put your forearms right here. Giving
Mm,
your forearms a nice little massage as you work, because your flexors are getting are just so tight from constantly typing all day and being on the phone. So it gives them a nice little myofascial release, which is going to kind of be a little bit bigger than the stretch. So that's something that's really easy you can do at your desk. Also, you can take that ball, you can put it on the bottom of your feet, give your feet
mm.
a nice little massage, get some circulation going on for those lower extremities. Cause again, when you're sitting for long periods of time, it really cuts the circulation off in the pelvic region going down to, your legs. So giving, a nice little foot massage with the ball, it can help to just enhance that blood flow too. And, it reduces, the stiffness, when you get up, you're kind of like, oh, that little jump that we do. So this will definitely help, reduce the aches and pains and stiffness while you're at work.
Absolutely. I think the ball on the foot is something every time I do it, I'm shocked at like how good it feels and like awakening. I'm like, I need to be doing this way more often.
Exactly.
And that's something
And
that everybody can do. You could do when you're sitting and just kind of
exactly.
like
This is
roll it
what I do. Just
around.
sit there, roll it around, just switch feet. And,
Yep.
and it, like I said, it's keeping you engaged. I always say, when you're constantly moving at work, is that happen. I think happens is it's called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is helping you to actually burn more calories while you're sitting. So, studies have shown if you're practicing NEAT, as you're at a work day, you can actually burn an extra 200 to 300 calories just while you're sitting. So, I mean, why not?
Yep.
So,
I love that you
fidgeting,
mentioned
moving
that.
around. Yeah, moving around and doing self massage. They say even shivering is a good way
Yeah.
to help you, to burn those calories.
Exactly. No, I've done a blog post on NEAT, and I think the power behind it is so beneficial. I mean, doing laundry, gardening, cleaning your house a little bit more vigorously. And I think when we can change our perspective that this is not just a chore, but this is like an opportunity to better our health, it shifts the way we go about it. And I mean, I'm kind of a nerd and I try to like geek out and find opportunities to be healthier. And just with a packed plate right now, I don't have a lot of window time for extra exercise. So I have a weighted vest that like when I'm not filming, I'll walk on the treadmill very slow and I'll have the vest, or I'll take little push-up breaks, or I'll go clean the house with the vest. And it doesn't always have to be these intense exercises, these intense activities. It's these little moments and opportunities throughout the day. Again, take a break and go walk the dogs around the block. Not only are you getting the exercise and the movement, you're getting the vitamin D, kind of the grounding out in nature. And I'd personally encourage to not be
Right.
on your phone, no audiobook, no music, just one small window of time in your day where there's no extra stimulation, which,
Mhm.
is not easy nowadays, but I think it's incredibly beneficial.
It's incredibly beneficial. And I think more so now than ever, people are really starting to realize how much we are, addicted
Yeah.
to our phones. And, I was reading something recently. They were saying that like Barnes and Noble sales have, skyrocketed lately. People are going back to books because they want to literally get off the phones, get off the tablets, and go back to just a book and the smell of it.
Yeah, I love that. That's great to hear.
Yeah,
I know. I wish I
yeah, I
was more of
know.
a book reader. And when you find a good one, it sucks you in and it's so good. But,
Exactly.
I know when I'm a little bit more stressed and overwhelmed. I carry a lot of the stress and the weight in my shoulders and I can tense up.
Like we all do.
How would you say that emotional stress contributes to physical pain? And what are some practices that we can do and incorporate in our day-to-day activities to address this?
I always say to my clients, the issues are in our tissues. So those emotions, we wear them like weights in our shoulders, like little knots and balls in there. So they definitely affect, your overall body. Like I said, if you're dealing with depression, you're going to be slumped forward. You're not going to be running around with a smile on your face. Your posture is going to show how you feel. So I always say, when we're dealing with, maybe an emotional issue, nothing's better than doing breathing, some deep diaphragmatic breathing. I like to practice the 4-7-8 method, which is, we inhale for 4 seconds, we hold it for 7, and we exhale for 8. This is so amazing. It's just activating our parasympathetic nervous system and calming our body. So it's almost, kind of doing a little bit of mindfulness, within like about 30 seconds flat. So I always tell people, take a minute or so and just practice the 4-7-8 method, and you will literally feel the calm that comes over your body.
Absolutely. I was doing a recording yesterday, and we actually did some breathing exercises on the call. And, when you open your eyes, you do feel that relief. And I think, I'm not a meditator, but doing, small breathing practices, that is what calms me. That kind of helps recenter me. And it's something that I can do on a consistent basis. And I think, maybe a busy mom or dad's listening. They're like, okay, I've got kids running around. I've got this. Is there an opportunity after the kids are out of the house or at daycare or school? Do you have a 5-minute window before you jump into, and I'm the biggest culprit of this. As soon as, my daughter's out of the house, it's like, okay, time to go, and get going. But is there a 5-minute window that we can give ourselves to help recalibrate so that we can be better throughout the day? And so I love the idea of the 4-7-8 breathing, because it doesn't have to be long. You could do a few rounds of it and you feel better through that.
You feel better, yeah. And I always say, with breathing, we can practice at any time. The kids can be around. They could be, it doesn't matter. We can be driving in the car. We can always practice breathing because, we're supposed to be breathing. So we kind of need to do that. So sometimes you need to take a minute and actually regulate your breathing by doing the 4-7-8 method.
Yep. Now, okay, so since the shift of the pandemic, we're seeing a lot more hybrid. We're seeing a lot more at-home workers. What are your thoughts on future ergonomics in the workplace? And especially considering there's probably going to even be more of an increase and a shift towards this type of work setting.
Right. Like I said, I see it definitely becoming, like I say, a huge thing. Because I was telling you earlier, that there's been a boom in ergonomic products. People are like, I have so many of my clients like, yeah, I bought a stand, I bought this, I bought that. I'm like, okay, do you know how to use it? They're like, no, I just bought it because I know it said ergonomic, and I hear that's good. So where when it comes more need is also going to become more education. With this. So this is one thing I'm very excited. I'm sure all the ergonomists out there are also excited too. This is a time, when the science, that that we all know and love, that, the masses are finally accepting it and knowing that this can actually help to really enhance and upgrade, their life.
Absolutely. You mentioned previously, and I don't know if it was on when we were off the recording or not, but you're originally from the United States. You live in Bangkok. Has the culture or just living in Thailand influenced your approach to ergonomics and, maybe just posture analysis globally and what that's done?
Yeah, just like I said, globally, the fact that, that it's starting to be adopted here, people here in Thailand is office syndrome. This is what we call it, like any type of neck, aches and pains that come from sitting, they call it office syndrome. So that's huge here. So the fact that, I can go out and somebody's like, oh, what do you do? I help people with office syndrome. Oh, office syndrome. I have office syndrome. So it's like an awareness, so for me, it's kind of like, wow, okay, people actually know that sitting for long periods of time in front of the computer or on the phone is actually, causing, those aches and pains. and, just the people who reach out to me, all over this world, so it lets me know that, it's there, it's time. People, they get it. They get it. They know I did, my favorite one. Yeah, I know I'm sitting for so long. Oh, I just feel so bad and sluggish, so they're really feeling it now more so than ever. I say maybe 10 years ago, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm sitting a lot. Yeah, I notice I'm a little stiff. Now it's like, I know this is the reason I feel like this. What do I do?
Yeah. What would you say to your clients who, obviously, if they're coming into the practice, they're fairly committed. They're like, I need to make changes. But what about those who are a little bit more apprehensive, or I don't know, maybe make excuses for why they're not incorporating these techniques or these activities, but they know that they want to feel better? I mean, I think about, granted, I'm halfway through pregnancy right now, so I'm having aches and pains, not necessarily due to sitting. There's a variety of factors, but why am I not necessarily asking, like, what can we tell these clients who maybe aren't making it a priority, but know that they would feel so much better afterwards?
I would have to say, what do you have to lose? You're going to feel better. That's it. And like I said, ergonomics and ergonomic equipment, it's not expensive. Of course, there are some expensive things, but I always tell people, start with a laptop stand. Yeah. Get a Bluetooth keyboard. Like, you can get all of that for $30. And I think that's where, everyone starts there, and they said, yeah, I really do feel better. I notice my shoulders aren't as stiff. I'm not hunched over anymore. My neck doesn't hurt as bad. I always say, the proof is in the pudding. When they start feeling, this is when they are like, okay, there's something with this, tell me more. What do I need to do?
Absolutely. And what would you say? I mean, you mentioned two right there, but if you had to pick your top devices that you think could help move the needle to improve our posture, what would be those top devices for you?
I would say top devices, of course, is a laptop stand and a Bluetooth keyboard. This is a game changer. The fact that you can actually adjust your screen to, your height. This, like I said, this is just, when I do this, my ergonomic assessments with my clients, when I raise that screen up, I can see their eyes are like, oh my gosh, yeah, this already feels better. And then when I give them that Bluetooth keyboard, I'm like, yeah, you need to have your, a Bluetooth keyboard. You need to be able to move around with it. And you're like, this makes so much sense. I notice I'm not as hunched over, and I'm not using the mouse that's on my laptop. I have a vertical mouse where I'm able to hold like this, which reduces your risk of carpal tunnel. So these little tiny devices, or like I said, are game changers for your overall, workplace wellness and health.
I love that. One other question, and I'll kind of selfishly ask this, is I have, my treadmill down below. And so I obviously want a chair that can come on and off very easily. I thought that this might be the best option as far as a chair, cost effective. It's literally just a square ottoman. There's no backing. And so my theory, I guess you have to be pretty intentional, is I got to keep, like, there's nothing to support or put my back on or kind of rest on. And so I have to use my core all day long. And I'm not depending on that, but I could also see you could naturally slunch with it too.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on something like that? And what would be your, best suggestion as far as chair options?
I would say, you always want something that has some lumbar support to support your lower back. That's always a good thing. Because again, when you're trying to sit up straight, you're going to tend to kind of tilt the pelvis forward, arching your back, and that can cause some lower back pain. So I always say that you definitely want something that's going to support that, like I said, your lower back kind of just rest on, lightly. When it comes to chairs, again, I always tell people chairs, you can get a chair for $20 up to thousands of dollars. There's this huge spectrum of chair. And I always say with your chair, you just want to have something that has some really good lumbar support. And most important, I'm going to show you what I sit on. This is a posture cushion. Balance cushion. The thing, I swear by it. This is another thing that I use that I can, engage in my active sitting. I'm always moving right to left and, doing pelvic tucks and things like that. And again, I notice throughout my day, I'm not all tight and stiff because I'm constantly moving. And I always tell people, this is a good way to kind of get a six pack while you sit, because your core is engaged just by sitting on it, because it's an uneven surface. So it's very important to kind of have these posture cushions while you're sitting. Again, this posture cushion is like 15 bucks.
Totally.
So these are things like you can get a kind of an affordable chair, and you kind of can I would say pimp my chair.
I like that.
You remember
totally.
that one?
I for a while. So it's funny that you share that, because I had that, and I don't know if this is safe, but I had that in my office, and I had one in my car for a very long time. Yeah. And it's funny, every time I would go to a car wash, they're probably thinking I'm crazy, because I'm like, what, you need a booster seat? I don't know what happened to it. I mean, we moved, and maybe I got rid of it, and I had the ball chairs as well, where it did have the support. Now in my car, because for a long time, when I was doing sales, I would drive at least 4 hours a day. And so I have a back support and like a butt support, and it's still in there, just to give me a little bit of a better posture. But I just know what my situation is at home isn't ideal. And so there's these little fixes like this. I love that you provided, you can get an affordable chair. You can get it the most expensive, but then there's alterations that we can do. I mean, I remember I used to have the bands that like wrap around your elbows and pull your shoulders back. I did that for a long time. There's so many odd things, but I think ultimately it's like, if we can start being more attentive and aware to what our posture is throughout the day. Maybe it's setting an alarm on your phone. Maybe it's, scheduling a stretch with a friend, and that's when you catch up on the phone. Finding opportunities for accountability, I think could be helpful.
Absolutely.
Kind of before we wrap up, anything that we missed that you feel like would be important for listeners to know? Maybe it's a particular stretch, a technique, a device, a mindset, something that you think could help support them.
What you just said briefly is, setting the timer on your phone. I always say that phone's going to be glued to you anyway, so why not put it to use? I always say set your alarm for every an hour or two. That it goes off. So when it goes off, no matter what, you stand up, you walk around, you stretch. I don't care how busy you are. You can actually step away for 1 minute and do something good for yourself. And I always say, when we, step away for that minute, it's like a nice reboot. It's a refresh. So things might start to come to you a little bit, easier. You're going to feel better. The blood is going to be flowing. So it's just, like I said, it's just kind of refreshing yourself, throughout your day. Like, you take your time, you refresh your computer, you reboot your computer. Why don't you do it to yourself? So this is one of my most important things that, I have to say, if anybody can take away, is just taking those posture breaks, moving around, and just being active throughout your day, practicing NEAT, these things like that. Because like I said before, the body is made to be athletic and constantly in motion, not to be sitting for, 8 to 10 hours a day. And then plus we're in the car for another hour, and then we're going to sit on the couch watching Netflix on the phone. So we're having way too much screen time and way too much sedentary time. So we really need to stand up and just, get our bodies moving.
Exactly. And then we're sleeping for 6 to 10 hours, I don't know who's getting 10, but we're sleeping. So we're, laying down, more as well. Well, this was fantastic. I feel like I pulled away some really good nuggets. If people are interested in learning more about your methods, working with you, where can they find more information?
Right. You can go to my website, www.mikejonstoday.com. And this is where you can download my book, Stand Up, Upgrade Your Posture, Transform Your Life. It's all about my proprietary 3-step method of how I've helped thousands of people, relieve their back pain at home. So you can go there and check it out. And also you can follow me on Instagram, and that's also at Mike Jones Today. And I'm constantly, putting up really great content about, how to, stay posture fit, stretching. And I always have my Workplace Wednesdays, where I'm always talking about different things that you can do at work, to keep you well. So there's tons of information out that about, ergonomics and posture, either at my website, MikeJonesToday.com, or on Instagram. And that's at Mike Jones Today.
Fantastic. I love that. And I was scrolling on the social too, and there's so much you have posted and is available, and quick implementations that you can incorporate in your daily routine. So I love that. Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us. And it's inspired me to kind of jump back into things, to make some changes. And I hope for our listeners, you feel the same. I'll probably look through some links for some of the devices that you mentioned and throw that in the show notes as well. So if you're interested in incorporating these ergonomic tools into your workplace environment, I highly encourage it. But thank you so much for being here.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.